All right, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to another CEJA reporting system office hours session. Today in the demonstration portion, we'll be going over the intake process and we'll have some updates as well. And there's a few updates I wanted to go over first before getting into this and opening it up to questions. We have an update going out tomorrow night. It'll include a few things. Just wanted to let you all, be aware of. There were some navigators whose work plan report was not loading. It would kind of get stuck. The narrative report specifically will be having that fix out. Um, we've also let's see, there was one other report update. Um, nope, I'm mistaken. That's a different program. Sorry about that. Let's see, another update we had was in if I go to someone's intake record here, let's see, about this one. So on the intake tab, we do have a link to, or actually it's right here, this view program assessment summary for steps 1, 2, and 3 on intake. And if we go to this tab here, or this page here, once it loads, so, over here we have our different sections for pre-screening, application, career assessment, and the service needs assessment. And what we've added to each of these sections is at the bottom, a link to pull up that information. So you can see the pre-screening window comes up here. For application, I think this would take us to the application. Yep, that would take us right to the application. Career assessment, we can see the ones that have been previously entered. If we wanted to add another one, we can do so from here. And then the service needs assessment is the last one. We scroll down here. This will take us to the service needs assessment if we need to make any changes over there. And then the last item is, let's see. Oh, on the customer list page, we have the column transition outcome, and we can see here this is filling in. So based on the transition outcome that's added on that program completion tab, that will, pull over here. So we can see in this case, Teddy has, let's see, apprenticeship, job placement, open small business, and other training. So if there are multiple transition outcomes, they will pull over. So whether they have 1, 2, 3, or 4, those will pull over as soon as they're added. And then once this customer list page is refreshed. And I think those are all the updates I wanted to go over. But like I said before intake, we'll go ahead and open it up to any questions that anyone has about the updates or anything else that's on your mind or anything at all. You can enter them in the chat or come off or unmute and ask away. I do see one in the chat. I noticed that on Illinois WorkNet that our work plan has not been approved. Is there any way someone can check this and let me know if there's anything that needs to be done in order to get it approved on WorkNet? I don't know who to ask about this. So that would be, I would recommend reaching out to your regional administrator. That way they can, access the work plan and approve it. Are there any other questions? Well, if not, we'll have another opportunity for questions. Feel free to add them in the chat as we go over the intake process. Let's see. So let me actually pull up UAT because there may be an update going out. Just want to make sure we don't have any disruption. So on this page here, the customer list, to complete intake, we can add customer. So we'll click the button to add a customer. And we'll fill out the required fields here with a red asterisk. And so fill in the name, date of birth, phone number, email address, and our street address information. And I am logged in as a Workforce Hubs grantee here. All right, and so for type, we'll say inquiry. And we'll select, let's see, Richland Council is the main grantee, and the other one is our sub-grantee there. So we'll select our provider. And when we submit that information, this will pull up the consent message here. And so we just need to check the box. I've read consent to the customer and they agree. Click save. And then we'll be able to fill out the pre-screening. Let's see. So I'll come back to this add contact note because that's something that we're currently working on, but I don't believe will be pushed out into Sprint tomorrow, but we'll circle back to that. But we have a checkbox here. If the person no longer wishes to be contacted, you can check this box and their status will update. But if they are interested, we'll just proceed. Do you need any accommodations to complete this pre-screening or application? If we say yes, we can list, there's a text box that'll come up where we can list out the accommodations. And we'll see that the information has pulled over here from what we previously entered: name, phone number, email, date of birth, our address information below. So we'll just answer, how'd you hear about this program? Are you interested in working in construction or the building trades? Are you interested in working in the clean energy field? If we select yes, then we get this question here. Which of the following clean energy industries are you interested in learning more about? Make those selections. Are you interested in applying for an apprenticeship program? Are you willing and able to put in the time required by the program? And you may have challenges that make it difficult to participate in the training program. Are you experiencing any barriers that would keep you from attending the training? And then we'll see the address information pull over. And then we just have a few more related to eligibility. Have you ever been incarcerated for a felony or misdemeanor? Have you had prior involvement in the criminal legal system? Are you a graduate of foster care or currently in foster care? Are you a displaced worker? And do you have other barriers to employment? And we have a few demographic questions. What racial or ethnic groups best describe you? Veteran status. And do you have a high school diploma, GED, or high SED? And then we'll see, based on our answers above to the different questions, here's the customer pre-screening results. So these are all fields that relate to eligibility. And we can see our answers that are above. And right below this, we have our table of the different CEJA programs. And based on our answers, each program has different eligibility, slightly different eligibility requirements. And based on those, if something, so for example, we got all green check marks here, but let's say, there's that one Climate Works question. So if we said no for interest in an apprenticeship program, I think that will, we can see, that is updated over here. And then if we said no to construction and building trades, think we need to answer no for one more up here to. So yeah, if we said no in clean energy field, then if we scroll back down here, we can see the interest in clean jobs, goes away. Um, so, depending on, what we see down here, so in workforce hubs, depending on, our answers, you might see, in this case does not meet the pre-screening requirements. And that's because, we said we're not interested in these jobs. So, um, let's go ahead and click yes to update that to make sure that when we come back here to the pre-screening result, that we're interested in participating. So now that we've updated that, we can see that we can, move forward after this pre-screening window. So we select program, pre-screening result, provider is automatically filled in. We'll select the pre-screening date. And if there's any additional notes, we can add them here. And we'll click the button to submit. And this will pull up our add applicant window. And we'll just need to re-enter the email address here. And once we do that, the system, when I click this button here, the system will then check to see if there's an existing account already in workNet that it can sync up with. But it'll also check to see if this customer, based on the name, date of birth, and email, is already in the system. And if they are, then you might see a message, maybe someone from your team has already added them into your customer list. I think you would see that earlier, though, on that initial window. But you might see that they're with another grantee, and there's some boxes you can check and to submit a transfer request that other organization can then respond to. And if that's accepted, then they'll show up in your customer list. But we'll click this here to search for existing applicants, and we'll see that their username and password, this is what the customer would log into workNet with. We can see their account's been created. And so when we click this button, it'll proceed to the application. But I did want to scroll back up to at the top here of the pre-screening, which let's see. Well, actually, let me just add another one here real quick. Make it slightly different here. I believe we added the update I'm going to go over. Okay. So the reason we added this add contact note up here, again, we'll need to confirm the rollout. That's because, if you're not able to fill out all the pre-screening information, and you just want to leave, a note on the fly, that can be, added over here. We do have this note section at the bottom, but in order for this to be saved, all of the, required fields of the pre-screening need to be completed. And so, this update that we're going to have come out will allow you to, add a contact note, or maybe you don't have all the information, or maybe the customer doesn't have all the information for some of this for, whatever reason. You can add a note here that can, be referred to. Let's see, but we'll go ahead and open this record back up for the customer that we've added. So that button that we complete application or complete initial application with applicant, when we select that, that would take us to this first page of the application here. And let's see, so we have a lot of the information from pre-screening is pulled over here, which we can see. So we'll just need to fill in some of the blanks here. Do you have a social security number? If we select yes, we can enter in and confirm the SSN. Once it is saved here, our system is encrypted, so you won't be able to see the full number, you would only see the last four. Anywhere in the system or any export of customer information, you're only ever going to see the last four numbers after it is submitted. But we also have yes, but I don't have my card, and then also no. We'll say yes, but I don't have my card. And let's see, we have our address information. Okay, so we have the phone number and then primary phone type. So then we'll just select what type of phone this is. If there's an alternate phone number, we can enter that and select the type again. What sex were you assigned at birth on your birth certificate? How do you currently describe yourself? Are you authorized to work in the US? And then the other questions are pulling over. And then the last one here is just the application submit date. It'll default to today's date, but if you need to change it to, maybe they filled out a paper copy yesterday, or, you can change that date there. So we'll go ahead and click save and go to next page. And this will show the eligibility screen. So based on the information we've seen, we need to meet, we do need to be authorized in the US to, so we met that requirement. And then we need at least one of the following criteria to be met for workforce hubs. And we have a few of these for address, foster care, and barriers to employment. And then age as well, at least 18 or turning 18 within 6 months. And so since we are eligible, we'll click continue to intake. And this will take us to the application summary screen. And when you can see all their information here, we can click return to demographics and contact info update if we need to update any of this information. Maybe, we have the social security number that we can enter, so we can update that there. But then we need to sign the application down here. And so we'll sign as the case manager, and we have a few different options here. Let's see. So the first one is enter username and password. This is just the username and password for your workNet account. And we can also send a link to the customer. So if we copy this link and email it to them, they'll log in with that username and password that was created or generated when we added them into the system, and they'll log in and they'll be able to sign it with their workNet info. And then the third option is uploading a signed application. So if you've got a scanned copy that you have a file of, you can upload it here and enter the date it was signed. And in this case, we'll use enter username and password. Just 3. Click sign. And we'll see that the page is reloaded. We see the name of the account and the date it was signed. And we also, if we needed to print this, we can click print, and oh, that's why. This should be open when you go to print it. Yeah, otherwise it gets cut off like we saw just a second ago. Okay, so then we can click the button return to intake. And we can see, number 1, complete application, pre-screening information. This is what we, filled in. View application completed. If we click this, that'll just take us back to the page we were just on, the summary page. And then we can see when the application was completed and signed. If there were funds that were needed to complete intake, we can check this box here and leave a case note. Also do that if we uncheck it if we accidentally checked it. And so that's step 1. Step 2 is the career assessment. And so to add that, we'll click add career assessment. We see the assessment date right here. And then we have the question, what is your current or most recent employer status? If we select I've not worked before, this will be my first job, then some of these questions will be hidden. Otherwise, if we have I'm employed, self-employed, employed but received notice of termination layoff, unemployed and have been actively looking for work, and then unemployed but have not been actively looking for work. And if either of those two, unemployed selections are made, you can enter the most recent employment information. But we'll say, and so yeah, those employment questions are hourly wage, employer name, start date, end date, if applicable, job duties, and reason for leaving, if applicable. And then we have a few more questions here. Some jobs have lifting requirements. Please indicate whether you're able to lift this amount of weight. Many of the apprenticeship programs require people to stand for long periods of time. Please indicate whether you are able to stand for long periods of time. And then we have a couple drop downs that'll have the same options here for career goal and secondary career goals. So we'll just make our selection. And I think it's this last one here. Yeah, if we select other construction related, then we have a text box where we can specify there. And then the last question of the assessment is, are there specific careers you're interested in pursuing? Select at least one. And so we have check boxes under solar and wind, automotive, electrical vehicle focus, electrical, green building construction, and manufacturing, cleaning energy technologies. And then we also have a checkbox here. I'm interested in learning about clean energy careers. So we'll click save. Get the note that it has been added. We can see our career assessment here. If we needed to, or if we wanted to view it, we can click this link right here, and that'll pull up, summary information of what we entered. And if we wanted to add another one, we can certainly do that. All right, and then the next assessment is the service needs assessment for step number 3. Click this here. Oops. What would that be happening? Well, let me pull something up. Find another customer. It is a little after 11, which is usually when our programmers push out updates. Let me pull up the dashboard. Let's see if I can find another customer we can add a service needs assessment to. But while we're over here, this dashboards page, which you can access by clicking dashboards and then CEJA. And we can make our filter. We'll say, let's see, workforce hubs, and yeah, we'll click filter. And this is a good report to get a bird's eye view, kind of where your customers stand. We can see in this case with this organization, we have customers with an inquiry status. We have 24, and next to each row, we do have an info bubble with more information about what the criteria is for people to appear in this row, or if there's action that's needed. So in this case, customers who've not completed the pre-screening process and have been marked as do not contact. So if there's some who do not have pre-screening completed yet, and you want to narrow down rather than kind of scroll through and click through all the pages in the customer list, you can come here and see which customers to focus on. For example, we have 21 who it's been more than 30 days and the pre-screening hasn't been completed. So kind of items to address, and we can see next steps here. Save for application, not completed within 10 days. Next steps, contact the customer and work with them to complete the application. If they don't want to participate, update their status to not enrolled. Um, so it's pretty helpful for a bird's eye view of just where your customers stand and what steps you might need to take for others. But let's see. So we have a row for service needs assessment, not complete. Let's check one of these two. We probably have the one, yep, that we had an error with. Let's try this other customer. Okay, service needs assessment. Okay. Let me just switch over to test real quick here and try that over here. Which customer was this? Lexi. That's okay. Hmm. I'm gonna say if we run into an error over here, then I will have to talk to our programmers about what is going on. But let me pull up maybe. It's not ideal, but well, maybe I can actually pull up someone who already has a completed one. Let me try that first. So you can at least see what this looks like. Okay, so I think we were looking at this customer and they had one completed. We were going over those updates. Let's see here. Okay, so intake. This system's really slowing down. Okay. Service need. No, let's try an add one first. We're gonna run into. Okay. Okay, so yeah, we'll just walk through. So the service needs assessment, we'll just kind of pretend that none of this has been filled in here. Oh, let's see. So yeah, we have in these blue rows, kind of the different, areas of the service needs assessment, where we're asking, we have at the top here, we're going to check what you need to make it easier for you to stay in the program. CEJA has funds available to help with any challenges you're facing. Your responses won't affect your chances of joining the program, and that won't be, used to decide on your application. And so we have, questions for accommodations and student services, technical technology assistance for virtual learning. Let's see, transportation, child care, family member care, assistance with housing, food, health care, legal assistance, financial literacy, mentorship, application fees, and other support services. And so it looks like we really tested this one. If we, let's take a look at how about food. We won't go through, every question just because there's a lot and there's a lot of different, branching. But if we answer in a way where, assistance would be needed, so would you like some help with obtaining food in order to succeed in the program? If we answer yes, and this is how all the questions will, kind of work and branch out. If we answer yes, we'll see what the recommendation is to review local organizations providing food assistance. And if this is something that we need to refer, we need to send a referral to another organization to assist with, we'll check that box here. If this is something that we can provide support for in-house, so you see here, provide support service for groceries in-house and or assist with applying for SNAP benefits, we can check that box here. And so for another one, assistance with housing. If they do have housing concerns, we can select yes. I need financial assistance. Here's the recommendation. Review local community action agency or local faith-based organization services. We have referrals. So again, if we need to refer to another organization to help address this, we can do that. Or if we can, provide in-house support for this, we'll check the box for the appropriate ones here, and multiple can be selected here. And then we have a text box here where we can add additional notes. Those are optional, this comment section, but once we save the service needs assessment, we can see what our answers were. We can click the hyperlink there to see how it was completed. And when we go to the progress page, we'll see here for this customer that we were testing, they had a lot of referrals that were needed. And so for that, outside organization referrals, we got all those items tracked here. And for the in-house support ones, those are in this section here, service needs assessment items and other wraparound services. And so we would address those, each of these items by adding a wraparound service to the career plan and entering in that cost information that would then, pull over into the count here. Okay, so that's the service needs assessment. Let's see, let's go back to our customer here. Okay, so that was number 3. Number 4, if, at any point during this intake process, the customer declined to participate, we can check the box here. And we'll see not enrolled, declined to participate. If they do decide to participate, they change their mind, or we didn't mean to check this box, we can go ahead and uncheck that. The status will update over here. Let's see. And then the transferring customer to a different grantee. I just want to check to see if there's anything else for intake I want to go over. Before getting into the transfer items, I do just want to go back to our progress page and refresh this. So, you might see some flags here. The system is looking at, our information as of 11/23. As we make changes, we can keep coming back to this to refresh it, and the time stamp will update. So now we're up to the present time. Still got a yellow flag here because we kept running into an error message for that service needs assessment. But once that's completed, this would then turn green. And next to this intake section, we have the info bubble. What this is looking at is, if it's green for good, that means the career assessment and the service needs assessment have been completed. Since it's yellow, it means, one or both of those have not been completed. If it turns red, that means, more than 10 days has passed and one or both of those items are not completed. And if it's gray, that means no action is needed. Customer is not going to be enrolled. So when we check that box for decline to participate, this would turn gray here. So that's how that works. This flag logic on the progress page. Okay, let's see here. So I'll go back to our intake tab. If we So let's see here. Okay, so yeah, number 4, the transfer customer to a different navigator or grantee. Maybe, so let's see, we were, I think, was it Richland Council? When, if maybe, the customer decided to participate, in a different program or with a different grantee, what we can do is check the box here. And we'll have, the ability to transfer them. We do have a note that if the customer is enrolled, to close their services and update their training completion status on the program completion follow-up tab to withdrawal. And then you'll be able to transfer them. But in this case, let's say the program will say Climate Works, and then when we select that, we can select a grantee, and then we'll see the list of the Climate Works grantees. If they're, you might see in this case, like this Telger Solar Company, if they're, the grantee organization is no longer accepting applications, you're not able to select them. So you'll need to, make another selection. So let's say Zion College, reason for request, customer wishes to participate in Climate Works with Zion College. And we'll submit the transfer. And then the staff who has, or the partners who have access to that grantee organization, Zion College, they will then receive an email with a link to the customer's record here, and they'll be able to respond to that transfer request. So let me see here. Let me open up another tab here so I can kind of show you what that looks like. Zion College's S tester. Wait a minute. 2. Okay. Tester 2. All right, so let me pull this window over here. So I'm logged in as the grantee who would receive the email. In the event, because sometimes depending on email settings, it may not come through. Oh, I need to be in UAT, don't I? Yeah. Sometimes it may not come through. So another way to view this to see if you have any open transfer requests is to access your dashboard. And when we make the filter here, it'll be the first row, respond to transfer requests. I don't know why it's 0. I think this might be UAT being weird again. And we'd see the customers who, in this list here, who we would, it would open up a list of, which customers of ours have a pending request. But actually, now that I think about it, let me back up here. So if initially this grantee, Zion Richland, had added, David here up front on, this customer list, then they would see a message stating, this customer, already exists with another organization. When we submit the request there, that's what would show up in a dashboard here. I kind of have it backwards here. I apologize. But let me open this. So when I transfer a customer or, try to direct them, refer to them to someone else, they'll receive an email with a link to it. And so when we open that link, we'll then see this page here, that customer's intake tab. And we'll see this button, respond to request. And so when we click this customer David has indicated preference to work with Zion. To confirm or reject this request, please make the appropriate selection below. If you have questions, please contact your grant manager. And then we see that text that we added for the customer wishing to participate in Climate Works with Zion College. So we could reject it, and then we'd no longer have access to this intake tab. If we accept it, which we'll do here, we'll then see, if we refresh, we'll see that we have access to the other tabs now because David is now with Zion College. And if we go back over here to our customer list, we initially added David here. When we search for it, we're not going to be able to see it. So we made the transfer request. It's been accepted, and we don't have access to that record anymore. Now I mentioned the dashboard over here showing up as 0. Let me show you what that would look like. So if I were to try to add that customer that we just transferred, or let's say it's another one, and maybe I'll pick another one here. Let me see. Just working on this other tab here. Okay, how about I'll add this one here. Okay, so if I was adding a customer into the system, oops, ahead of myself. 12,000. Okay, here we go. Okay, so fill in that information here. Okay, so if I go to try to add this customer Vince, who's already in the system with another grantee, when I click submit, I get the prompt here. A note record for this customer already exists with another organization. And so you can check the box here to notify the existing provider that the customer is requesting to enroll with my organization. And so if you're a navigator, you can select navigator and enter the reason for request. If you're a provider, you can select provider and enter the reason for request. So yeah, if you're ClimateWorks or Workforce Hubs, you'd select provider here and enter the reason. So requesting Vince transfer to Richland Council, participate in Workforce Hubs. Okay, so we'll click save, and then Zion College, that other grantee, they'll receive an email that they can respond to. And if I hold this over here, I refresh the dashboard, so we have 1 now. So I can respond to the request. I can click this here. I will see Vince right here. I can click this, and I'll see that respond to request button over here. If they're an inquiry record, that respond to request button will show up here. And when we click the link in the email, it'll pull up this pre-screening window. If they're an applicant or greater, the link will take us to that intake tab, where we responded to that request a few minutes ago. And so from here, to respond to the request, I can click reject or accept. We'll accept it. And if we search for Vince, he won't show up in our list over here, but the organization who requested the transfer, when we search for him now that it's been accepted, we'll see him in the list. And we do have emails that go out if a transfer request is accepted or rejected. That way, you don't have to keep searching for the customer to see if they've pulled over there. And then down below, let's see here. At the bottom here, we do have a transfer history section. So as first item here, we can see the request, that initial request, and then we can see, that it was accepted. And so we do have that getting recorded there. Okay. I think that was all I wanted to cover with intake, but I do see there were questions in the chat. So let me go back up to the first one here. Is this something the navigator does? I believe based on the timestamp, that was probably when we were getting started with the intake process. I would say yes, but also I think it might depend on, just the general workflow. Of your program. And if you have questions or clarifications, you can reach out to your grant manager just to make sure. The next question, while completing intakes during this portion, the check marks are spinning and they do not populate until I refresh and restart this portion. Is there something I can do to make it run smoothly? I feel like, if they're, well, let's check with this one here. It looks like they're all filled in. Let me find an inquiry here. I believe they're spinning because, let's see, customer status inquiry. I just want to make sure. So, okay. Let's see. So if we scroll down here, yeah. So if they're spinning like this, that means that it hasn't, been addressed above. So this first one, incarcerated for felony or misdemeanor, when we select that, we'll see that option fill in there. See that for a couple other ones here, and we'll see, that pull in here. And we can see that high school diploma question there as well. But yeah, if they're not populating, I would say if you could submit a help request ticket, which I'll go over in a second, with what customer or customers that's happening with, just a few example ones, if it's a lot of people, and then also what browser you're using. Sometimes things, there's issues in certain browsers and not others, so that might be a factor as well. So yeah, that might be something that we just need to take a closer look at outside of this call here. Let's see. I think there are a few more in the chat. I've not been able to access the service needs assessment for any of the test customers that I've added. Lindsay, would that be in the test environment or the production environment? Either way, we're going to want to get it fixed, but just want to make sure, if it's something that we need to, escalate. And I'm going to make a note of that too, the service needs assessment. Okay.
And this is in test.
Just test. Okay. Thank you, Nate. But yeah, like I said, we'll want to make sure we get a fix in for that. Oh, Nate, I see your response there to the question earlier. Let's see.
David, there's a question about whether once a customer has been transferred, can I still view their progress?
No, once the customer has been transferred, you would not be able to view their progress. Yeah, I think that's something that we, kind of touched on, or, we might need to talk, further internally to see, if and how, we might want to, capture that or, allow Grantees are navigators to view customers who were in their, customer list at one point, and if they get, transferred elsewhere, what all and, how we might want to go about allowing them to view, the progress.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, here's another question here. I think there's one more. Is there somewhere specific in the reporting tool that we should be making note of supportive services received by the participants while waiting to get into the ClimateWorks and/or Hubs programs?
And so this would be for Navigator programs that have limited supportive services budgets.
I mean,
we may need to define that if we don't have that capability. I just added it to our list to talk about it in our development meetings.
Yeah, because I was going to say, currently it's really just, if you're able to complete pre-screening, there's the notes section here, or maybe even the add contact note that we have yet to roll out if you're not able to complete pre-screening. But yeah, I think we're going to need to talk more about that. I think those are all the questions in the chat. Julie, I see you got your hand raised.
I just wanted to add a comment to that last discussion. What I have
Yeah.
found is happening is if a navigator does some type of wraparound service, like gives bus tokens or something, and they open the wraparound service, it changes that status to enrolled when they're really not. So it would be nice if there was a different place for them to be able to track that.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's kind of, I don't know what other types of things, but that just is an example. I thought that would be helpful for you to know.
Yeah, because currently the system looks at if any service, regardless of the service in the career plan, once that has a start date, the system will then, mark it as enrolled, and that might be something, Nate, that we, talk about tomorrow as well, if we is if, if the wraparound service is the first service to be open, should the customer be updated to enrolled, or do we kind of need to, maybe rule that service out?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more about who's entering it, but yeah, definitely we should figure that out. We can get to it in our. I don't know if we'll get to it tomorrow in our meeting, but it'll be on the list.
Yeah, that's right.
So I guess now I'm a little curious. Are you saying, David, that if a navigator enters a supportive service for a person, that can automatically lead to an enrollment?
Yeah, and I know we have just a few minutes left, but let me log in. That's not what I wanted. So if I have logging in as a navigator, thanks for that. Log in as a navigator and find, let's see, an applicant. And just go to their career plan. Well, hang on. These navigators, this might be unique to like a few groups. If, there's someone who has permissions to navigators and workforce hubs, yeah, because I totally missed yeah. So I think I think limited to very few. But if I was a navigator and I had, access to a ClimateWorks group and I added a wraparound service, that was the first one I added. That's the first one we start, then they would, update to enrolled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll have to talk a little bit more about that one. But are there any other questions? We got just a few minutes left. Well, if not, we'll go ahead and end our call here. We have recorded the session. We'll get this added to our partner guide page, which I'll add in the chat. That will be, we got our upcoming technical assistance webinars for the Tuesday and Wednesday sessions listed here. And then down below, we have our archive ones with what was covered, the recording link, and if there were presentations, links to those as well. Actually, there was one more thing. Sorry, there was one more thing I said I was going to go over. This was submitting a help request ticket. If you run into an issue like we have for the service needs assessment, you can submit a help request ticket, which is it sends an email to me, and it's something I check a few times a day. You can submit a, just want to make sure this flows smoothly. Help request ticket here. Bear with me one moment. And you can access it, kind of anywhere you are in the system. Okay, there we go. So if I think I need to be over here on this account. Sorry. Yeah, this will be better this way. No matter what program you're in, JTED, CEJA, this is just an account I have. So you can click your username, click help request. This will open up the help desk for workNet, and you can submit a new request. And in this case, we would say we'd fill out a title of it. So service needs assessment, error message, a description when I open the service needs assessment, getting an error message. And you can include screenshots, in this description here. You can also attach files. But then, once you fill out that information, you'll select category. And yeah, for CEJA, select, we have a CEJA Climate Works, Workforce Hubs, and Navigators. One of those three needs to be selected. Otherwise, I'm not going to see it. So be sure to, select that category there. For subcategory, in this case, it'd be intake, service needs assessment. You can copy other members to your team here. And then you would just enter in some of this information here. Partner provider, yes. Organization. CCOD, phone number. Is this issue related to a specific customer? In this case, yes. And then we can fill out the customer email and name. And we can also select, the browser that we were in. And then we just have a couple other things here. Is the issue keeping you from moving forward, and specify which projects you're unable to see. You can add additional notes there, and you'll click create. And I'll get an email that a help request has been submitted. And when let's see, let me refresh this here. Oh, because I don't, yeah, okay. But then, you can come back here to, my tickets and see the tickets you submitted. And, when you click this, you'll be able to see, kind of a record, as we, communicate back and forth. So we can see what this looked like when it was submitted. And, as, I comment, there'll be a, conversational history, you'll get emails too about it, and we'll just troubleshoot and add from there. But just wanted to show how to access it. It's really any page that you're on in the system. Yeah, select the username, help request, and then you can fill out a help request ticket with whatever issues that may come up while you're in the system. But like I said, we'll take a look at that service needs assessment thing, make sure that doesn't get into production, and yeah, we'll get the recording posted to our partner guide. And if there's anything that comes up, yeah, definitely submit a help request ticket or send me an email, and we'll troubleshoot and go from there. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and end our call. Thanks for joining, everyone, and we'll hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, y'all.